Hi, we're Group 1, and I'm here to present on what we did for our community service project. The focus of our project was to focus on the SDG goal of zero hunger. Our host community is Food for Gelandangan, otherwise known as FFG, which aims to reach out to the homeless and urban poor. A bit of background on Food for Gelandangan. Food for Gelandangan is a charity organization founded in 2013. The Humble initiative is highly aimed in reuniting the community to help the homeless and urban poor, as well as partake in CSR events and programs. Here's a bit of coverage on the charity contributions they've done in the past. And there's some basic information on what they do and the their contact numbers and like contact information. It's a recent charity event they did earlier this year. And to move on to the problem statement of zero hunger. Due to impoverished conditions, many people struggle to have their basic physiological needs met, much less find means to earn a living to put food on the table. Thus, they are unable to maintain well-balanced diets with sufficient nutrition to ensure their health and well-being. As for our problem diagnosis of approaching our goal of zero hunger, we can look at the causes of hunger. Among one of the major causes of hunger is poverty, because a lack of income means a lack of means to purchase or produce food, and war and conflict, which tears down infrastructure and just deprives people of jobs to be able to earn a means of living to be able to purchase food. And climate change, which can affect crop yield and increase frequency of natural disasters, which will disrupt the ecosystem of food chains. And so on, natural disasters and economic, social, and political inequalities, because hunger disproportionately impacts vulnerable groups such as women, rural communities, racial minorities, disabled people, and so on. Infrastructure failure, inadequate transport systems for food to be able to reach communities in need, food waste, and outstanding economic conditions. Let's look at the effects of hunger. Malnutrition, a deterioration of physical and mental health, health conditions such as kwashiorkor, marasmus, and anemia, so on, stunted growth and developmental issues in children, a low life expectancy, difficulties and disruptions in schooling, because families prioritizing buying food to survive will have their children's schooling interrupted due to health conditions. Conflict and violence, because scarcity can cause people to fight for limited resources, and the stunting of economic development, since high levels of hunger are correlated to low or declining economic growth. All of the above add up and contribute to perpetuating the poverty cycle, which contributes to hunger. Let's look at the stakeholders. Those who contribute to hunger, otherwise known as the perpetrators, can be the government due to poor public policy, poor infrastructure, corruption, and poor management of political conflicts, and corporation and capitalists due to food waste, lobbying towards governments, and they are also major contributors to climate change, which we have explained causes hunger. And who wants to solve it? The solution seekers, the international community, academics and scientists, and NGOs such as the Hunger Project and multilateral organizations such as the World Food Programme. Governments can also solve the issue because since they have public policy, they can implement a more efficient public policy to solve hunger. And who is negatively affected by it? In other words, the victims. Developing nations and their populace, people in conflict-ridden areas, war zones, and vulnerable communities, because hunger disproportionately impacts vulnerable groups such, for example, rural communities, racial minorities, and disabled. And who benefits from these? The beneficiaries. Corporations and capitalists who abuse cheap labor, perform public relations stunts, and they receive tax deductions from charity. So what are some of the solutions to solving hunger? The government can invest in infrastructure by building storage facilities for food and more efficient roads for transport of food, reduce food waste by improving storage and effective food distribution, by redistributing wealth through higher taxes on the wealthy so that the poor have a better means of acquiring food to earn a living to acquire food. Economic interventions, for example, limiting food prices by implementing a price ceiling on essential foods such as flour and rice, improving access to education by giving the disadvantaged a chance to gain skills and qualifications to vie for high income jobs, which can allow them to purchase food. Climate smart agriculture, urban farming, scaling down animal agriculture, which is very harmful to the climate. Gender equality, because we know that hunger disproportionately impacts women and girls due to gender based discrimination. And addressing and resolving wars and conflicts, because communities cut off from the rest of the world due to war can cause refugee crises, which causes hunger.
Our main objective is to tackle the pressing issue of hunger amongst vulnerable communities, which are the homeless and needy in urban areas. We are working together with the charity organization FFG, which stands for Food for Gelandangan. The main planned activity of this initiative is the on-site community service. This activity was carried out on March 3rd by Group 1, which is us, as well as the members of Group 10. A total of 15 members from each group conducted visitations to a number of locations in the KL City Center, such as Jalan Silang, Cahaya Surya, Segi College, Bangkok Bank, and Jalan Belia. Once on location, volunteers will work to distribute dry foods, as well as other basic necessities such as toiletries to those in need. Additionally, funds will be collected from group members to be used to purchase goods for distribution, as advised by Mr. Azizan, who was our contact with the FFG. Here are the roles of each team members as well as their responsibilities. Wenjun is our leader and project plan editor. Amelia is our co-leader and contact with the FFG. Nico is our co-leader and project plan writer. Ahmed and Shongjun are our script writers. Si Jing is our slide editor. Francesca is our slide editor as well as the video editor. Nicole is our videographer as well as photographer on the day of community service. And I am the narrator, Wamik. Those of us that were the volunteers for the day of community service who went there and visited the centers were Wenjun, Emilia, Nico, Ahmed, Sijin, Nicole, and Hanwar. Now moving on to the activities as well as what we were able to deliver, we purchased goods for distribution under Mr. Azizan's guidance. We performed documentation with taking photos and recording footage for the required video presentation assignment. And we aim to ensure the homeless and needy being able to receive food and necessary existentials at the designated locations. We receive experience, education, and exposure on SDG 2 of no poverty for group members and other participants. Success in this project would include acquiring the necessary food and necessities. We measured this by seeing if we adequately meet the needs of the homeless and needy. Then we had raising awareness about the issue of hunger and promoting the cause of the FFG. We measured this by the success of the FFG's social media and participant turnout for the on-site community service. Providing aid to people in need, this was our measure by how many people we managed to distribute the necessities on the day itself. Our goal was 150 people. Now coming to the challenges that we encountered, the first challenge that we encountered was time management. Poor time management resulted in us not being able to do the fundraising, donation drive, as well as the management of the social media account. The second challenge was miscommunication. Since there were two groups in this project, there were times where miscommunication occurred, like in the beginning of the planning phase where a lot of people were confused. Then we had rainy weather conditions. It was raining heavily on the day of the event, and we were not prepared for this. However, despite the downpour, we still proceeded with the event. Allocating transport for participants was also a problem because of the rain, as a few of us did not go by car. What are the lessons that we learned from this? Well, we learned how to be prepared for issues that may come up before the implementation of the plan. Since we weren't able to raise money for materials to donate, we managed to gather what we already had on hand. We were taught an important lesson on the differences between homeless people and the urban poor. We learned how rising rent costs people to leave their tenements and live on the streets near them until they can afford to live there again. We were taught a lesson on anti-homeless architecture and how it is used to deter homeless individuals from resting at certain public areas. This may include benches that have linings or like obstacles so that people don't lay on them, or even specialized pipes that pour water on people resting under buildings. We were taught that anti-homeless architecture is implemented mainly to drive off the homeless and make public areas look more pretty and presentable to others. Then we learned how that through volunteer work, we could help the organization reach more people in need with aid in the form of food and other necessities, and we were able to communicate directly with the urban poor and improve their night. Lastly, here are the pictures of our food distribution on the day itself. That's all from us, and thank you.